Hi everyone, today we're going to be pitting the brand new DJI Avata drone head to head with last year's DJI FPV drone. And we're going to jump right into it with image quality comparison. So in terms of how these two drones perform, the DJI Avata is much more maneuverable. It's a much more fluid flight experience, I feel, than the DJI FPV. The DJI FPV is great, but it feels kind of clunky and heavy in the air. You can see the size difference is significant there. And the DJI Avata just feels more nimble in the air. The DJI FPV is considerably faster than the Avata, flat out. You can go faster with this drone. But the Avata is still extremely quick. It's a very fast drone. It's only if you're flying them side by side, full tilt, that you're going to notice that difference in speed. So yeah, in terms of just flight performance and just how they feel to fly, I would take the DJI Avata any day over the DJI FPV. So now we're going to take a look at the process of stowing away these drones, of how complex and how long does it take to put them in a bag, and how much space they take up. And right away, you can tell that the DJI Avata is clearly a smaller drone. It's more compact. It doesn't take up nearly as much space as this. In fact, if you put that right over the top of that, with the propellers attached, the DJI FPV takes up a significant amount of space. And I will say right now, I always have to pretty much completely disassemble this thing to fit it into just about any bag. So I would start off here by attaching the gimbal protector, and I will say here the gimbal protector on this is maybe a little bit easier to put on than the one on the Avata. They're both very different designs, as we can see here. Pop this one on like that. I guess they're both pretty easy to put on. This one's a lot more straightforward, and I think the gimbal on the DJI Avata is much better protected just by this roll cage here than it is on the DJI FPV. So that's nice. And then this thing is all ready to go in the bag. No, that's all you need to do. Just put on the gimbal protector and it's ready to stow away. You could even stick it in with the battery attached, no problem. And I would just pop that in there. The DJI FPV, on the other hand, first I would actually take the battery out of this one, since it's as you can see, it sticks out quite a bit, and that's really kind of awkward to fit in a lot of different camera bags. And then we can, I also have to take the propellers on and off every time I want to fly, because these things stick way out and take up way too much space unless you detach them. So I just stow them separately in an old envelope here. Just stow them really quick. So that's just another step you have to take, another bit of hassle that you don't get with the DJI Avata. It's a much simpler drone to stow away. So I would just stick that in there and like that. Now I have that, and this is the bag I use to carry the DJI FPV in all the time. Take that, stick it in there. Got the batteries, which I just put in there. Got some other stuff in there. Anyway, then we got to talk about the headset, because the original headset for the DJI FPV is a chunky thing. This is a really enormous thing compared to the DJI, the newer headset here. Now, you may actually get a better, more consistent signal with the older one, because it does have like these 4 antennas, so versus the 2 on the older one. But we'll talk about that later. That's in a different segment. We're focusing on packing it away now, but just the older helmet is much larger than the newer one. So just keep that in mind. This one takes up way less space. This one, I have to carry it separately from the drone because it's just so large. I've got one more battery here. The batteries themselves are like twice the size of the Avatas. So in every way, this drone is, the DJI FPV drone is larger and heavier. And these are pretty easy. I can just stow them there really easy. They're small and fairly lightweight. Then, of course, stick that in there, stick that in there. And there. And so it's all stowed away in each of these. And it's pretty clear that the DJI Avata is easier to take down and set up. Basically, I can just take it out of the bag, pop this off, power it on, and it's ready to go. Instead of the whole process with the DJI FPV, it really is a better system to pack up and set and take down. So next we're going to talk about headsets, and we've got the older DJI FPV goggles here, and these things are decent, but they are, as you can see, very large and chunky. You've got 4 antennas, and they're pretty dramatic looking actually. I personally think they're really cool, but the design does leave something to be desired. These are controlled via physical buttons up here. You can kind of easily, they're tactile and easy to feel. Manipulate them with the menus with a little joystick. And overall, I do like this headset, but it's not perfect. As you can see in here, I'll wipe some of the sweat off. You just adjust those eyepieces via these sliders on the bottom like this, and then it just kind of is this sort of it's a cushion, but it's a fairly stiff cushion, and it just kind of sits on your face. It doesn't really mold to your face at all, and there's a considerable amount of light leakage. These are cross-compatible with the DJI Avata. They work with both drones, but if you were to get the DJI Avata, I would definitely recommend spending a little bit more to buy these guys. And these are the brand new ones that have come out for these are the DJI goggles 2, and they are particularly good. As you can see, considerably smaller. They're a lot lighter. They conform better to your face, I think. I'll put them on here really. Oh, they've got an eyepiece protector right here. So which I really appreciate. I wish the old one had that. Having that is a really great thing to have. And as you can see, it's got a better headband too. It fits much more tightly to your face. There's practically zero light leakage in these, and they are super clear and bright when the thing is running. They've got LED panels inside that are very colorful. It's a very realistic look to the image when you're looking through them. You've got these actually really good adjustment things. You push and pull like the other one to adjust, but you can also twist these knobs to adjust the focus on there, so you can really get it tuned to your eyes. You can see it even comes with adapters so that you can wear it with eyeglasses really easily. And it's just a really great design overall. It is controlled with a touchpad right here instead of physical buttons. And at first I thought I would hate that because I like having the tactility of physical buttons on here. I'm still not sure which system I like better. I've really come to appreciate this touchpad system much more after using the goggles for the past week. The goggles too. The touchpad actually works very well, and I don't really have any complaints about it versus the physical controls, but it is nice to have the tactility of these physical controls on the older goggles. And I guess what it really comes down to for me is that these provide a better flight experience than these. They just look so much better than the older goggles. The image is significantly improved. They're much more comfortable to wear. They have less light leakage, and they are so much smaller and lighter. Like if you're trying to pack the setup around anywhere, the size of the goggles really matters. And this thing is going to take a lot of space in your luggage. This thing, barely any. And to me, that's a really major factor. Oh, another thing, as you can see, they both have battery cables. This one is just a straight cable. It actually gets in the way quite a lot, so it's a bit annoying, actually. And it's got the battery down at the end. I'm always getting this thing caught on stuff, and yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of that battery cable on the older goggles. But on the newer goggles, oh, there's a little hawk there. Distracted by birds. Anyway, these, as you can see, have a bouncy cord, and that thing definitely prevents a lot of unexpected snags and things from the cable. It keeps it kind of more under control. And importantly, the newer battery here has a clip system like that, so it doesn't come unplugged as easily as the older battery, which didn't have that clip. It's just the older battery just plugs in and out like that. And I actually have on a number of occasions had the battery come unplugged by accident when I snagged this cable. So there have been some major improvements in the design from the older goggles to the newer ones. And I would definitely recommend opting for the newer set. So let's talk about controllers now. And there are actually two that work with both drones. We've got a more standard controller here with twin thumbsticks and a flip-up antennae, and this is the one you want if you want to fly in manual mode. You got to alter it a bit so that the thumbsticks behave differently to enable manual mode flight. And this is the one, and it'll enable you to fly at maximum speed, do the most fancy aerobatic tricks, barrel rolls and really steep dives and stuff like that. It's for more advanced flyers, really, this controller. This, on the other hand, is a motion controller, and this thing is a lot of fun. It allows you to control the drone just by aiming it, pointing where you want to go, turning to the side to make harder turns, and pushing on the acceleration trigger here to go faster. And it's a very intuitive way to fly. I think for most people, this might be the easiest way to get into higher speed, more aerobatic drone flying, because it is just so simple to use. You don't have to really learn the concept of these thumbsticks here and how they operate. There's not really so much of a problem if you played a lot of video games, but it does require a lot more practice than it does to fly with motion controls like this. This is a very intuitive device, and for beginners, I would say the motion controller is definitely the way to go. It is very accurate in its movements. You can achieve some very fine, detailed control with this controller that I really wouldn't have expected before from a motion controller. It is surprisingly good, and they're really both great controllers, and personally I would opt to own both of them. As you can hear, the DJI Avata is definitely the more irritating and noisy drone to be around. These little propellers make a very high-pitched noise that is quite irritating both to people and animals. Whereas the DJI FPV drone is, I think, quieter and has a better tone to it. You may not be able to tell the different noise levels in this video, but believe me, they are there, and the DJI FPV drone definitely wins in terms of noise. I would feel more comfortable flying this around people than in terms of bothering other people than the DJI Avata. Now, with that said, the DJI Avata is much safer to fly around other people because it does have these propeller guards, which I really appreciate, whereas this thing you just got open propellers, which aren't very safe to fly in close proximity to people. One further point in favor of the DJI FPV drone is the placement of its USB and micro SD card ports, which are just right here in the front of the drone, pretty easily accessed. You don't have to really fumble around for them at all. On the other hand, the DJI Avata stores its micro SD card and USB slot here inside the propeller there. And as you should be able to see, just looking at it right there, getting into that is a pain. Just popping open the pocket there and getting in there. Just you got to adjust the propeller so it's just right. You might be easier just to remove the propeller just to be able to access these ports. And getting a USB cord in there is really tough. Getting a micro SD card in and out is really tough. It's far less than ideal. I suppose there are probably design reasons for building it like this. Probably something that made it necessary to make it like this, but it is highly inconvenient. And for ease of access to ports, the DJI FPV is definitely the winner. So I've done some more testing, and I've found that the DJI Avata is fairly sensitive to windy conditions, while the DJI FPV drone is very wind resistant, and I've never had any trouble flying it in even fairly windy conditions. The DJI Avata, I would definitely be wary of even mild windy conditions. I've run into a few situations, such as flying in a canyon and near a cliff, when gusts of wind would actually cause the drone to tilt fairly dramatically to the side and get pushed around by the gusts. So it's definitely something to be aware of when flying the Avata, that you should probably stick to calmer weather. So, in conclusion, I would have to give the win to the DJI Avata. It is just such a refined and excellent little drone. It is super maneuverable, super easy just to pick up and fly. The new goggles that come with it are fantastic. It works great with the motion control. It's safer because of these propeller guards. You can fly it indoors without so much worry about running into things and breaking it or causing damage with the rotors. It's just a fantastic drone. It's got better image quality than the DJI FPV, and aside from a few minor quibbles like the annoying sound and the inconvenient port placement, it is overall just fantastic, and I can highly recommend it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all again next time. Bye!